There really is nothing new under the sun. We are currently watching the implosion of our country. We're watching the devaluation of our dollar. We're seeing that we are about to enter hyperinflation, in my opinion. We're seeing currencies around the world begin to implode, yet the masses could care less. They're so distracted, and it's almost as if they're in a slumber. It's almost as if they are sleepwalking through life. And you may be asking, well, why is this? Well, it's very simple. The powers that be have given them bread and circus. Let's go to the intro and then we'll get right into this video. Okay, so let's get right into this video, and there really is nothing new under the sun. It is the same tricks over and over again, and man continues to fall for them. Now, if you've watched this channel, you know that I like to go back in history, and I'm going to be looking at the Roman Empire, and right before the Roman Empire ended up imploding, collapsing. So if we look at Rome, we see that they debased their currency, right? I talked about this numerous times before. At the beginning of that empire, Rome had the purest silver coins, and that's really interesting. A lot of people don't know that. Rome was actually built on silver, not gold, so that's really interesting. But at the beginning of that empire, it had the purest silver coins. Towards the end of that empire, it only had a fraction of the silver. And that is because they debased the currency, because they had an extraordinary amount of debts that they needed to pay. So in order to do that, well, they don't actually have the silver coinage to pay it. So what do? They debase it so they can make more. But now the coin is not as pure. It's a form of devaluing the currency the same way we see the Fed today printing our money worthless, right? It's the same principle behind it. So just getting back on topic, you have to ask yourself, why were the people of Rome so complacent when this happened? Why didn't they question their government? Why did they not essentially revolt? I mean, during that time, if you're seeing that your currency is being debased and all of your wealth is going away, wouldn't you think you would stand up and question your government? But the majority didn't. And so how did they keep them so complacent? And it's really simple. They gave them bread and circus. See, there's nothing new under the sun. See, bread and circus for the Roman people was the Colosseum. They had gladiators. And they gave them the Colosseum because in order to cover the debts of the Roman Empire, they had to increase the taxes. And they knew that the people were going to be infuriated by this and they were going to possibly revolt. So what they did was they simply built the Colosseum and they gave them what they like to call bread and circus. It was a distraction. Even though the people were getting taxed heavily, they didn't care because they were content, they were happy, they were distracted. And by the time these people realized what was going on in their empire in Rome, it was too late. And something definitely worth noting here, think about the type of person who would gravitate towards the Colosseum. You know, a really bloody, gory battle. Think about the type of person. Those are going to be your strong men, the men who would be the biggest problem for the government if the people did decide to essentially, well, revolt. And so it was all planned to attract those types of people who would typically be the biggest problem. They essentially wanted to make sure that the strongest men in society were distracted. And so let's fast forward to 2022 and compare that to what's going on today. The only difference that we're really seeing today when compared to Rome is the gladiators were fighting for their life. They were fighting for survival. Now we have these professional athletes who are making an extraordinary amount of money, and they're envied by the masses. In fact, the masses, when they have kids, they want their kids to grow up to be professional athletes because they know the money involved in this, right? It's a huge distraction of what is actually going on. Why do people think this way to begin with? Why do you want your kids to become professional athletes? Because the system's broken. The system is not providing for you. So by your kid or you becoming a professional athlete, you're essentially going to be able to break free from the system and get a life that you always wanted. It shouldn't be that way. You should be content with what you have in a fair system. Unfortunately, the system just abuses you, and so it forces people into thinking this way. And so now all these professional athletes are envied, and it's just a big distraction. I mean, think about it. You got baseball, you got basketball, you got football, you got hockey. How many people do you know can name the entire lineup of their baseball team in their respective city, but they couldn't tell you anything about 1913, which was the creation of the Federal Reserve, 1971, when we were taken off the gold standard, the Weimar Republic, Venezuela, Argentina, fractional reserve banking. The petrodollar, any of these derivative markets, silver, gold, you name it, they don't know any of that. But they can tell you the whole lineup of their favorite professional sports team. Just take a minute and think about how ridiculous that is. And, that is what is going on today. I can argue right now that we, the people, are being taxed more than any time in history. There's so many taxes now, and so much is taken from us, yet people just don't care because they're so easily manipulated into believing that everything is great. Yeah, we'll just give you bread and circus, aka football, basketball, right? Baseball, hockey. Keep you distracted, keep you content. That's the name of the game. Nothing new under the sun, and it's literally happening again. We're seeing this empire, America, begin to fall, and people don't care. They're so distracted. They just want to know the score of the game. They just want to know how their favorite player is doing. This is the state of America right now. And it's going to take these people by surprise. They're going to be absolutely blindsided by this because they have no idea what's going on. None. Very few understand what is actually going on right now. Very few. And I'm not the first one to talk about this whole bread and circus topic. There's been many before me who have talked about this. This is nothing new. It's really well known that it's a tactic used by the powers that be to distract the people. We can see it all throughout time. Rome is the best example of this with the Colosseum. It's absolutely ridiculous. But people continue to fall for it. And so this is why I'm always telling people, you are not going to be able to wake everyone up. You can tell people the truth, tell them about gold and silver, tell them about the devaluation of the dollar, tell them how you want to get into physical assets of intrinsic value so that you can beat hyperinflation so you're protected. Tell them all that.